All right, 6:30 p.m. Meeting of Planning and Development Committee called to order. Does anyone want to offer a prayer before we start? I can do that. Heavenly Father, we thank you for those gathered here this evening. We ask that you would bless those members that are here and bless those that are not here for whatever reasons. And we just ask that you would guide our discussion and help us to do those things important and good for our county. In Jesus' name. Any changes or corrections to the agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Review and approval of meeting minutes from August 5th.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
And then a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion's carried as well. We have claims this evening in the amount of $54.51. Motion to approve payments of claims. Motion. Second. All those in favor again signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very much. 6.0 public comment. Seeing none. Do we have any we do that on? Okay. Reports to the committee. Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
We know.
We continue with our business retention visits, and in the last month, we were able to sit down with Modern Plating, Core FX, Helm, and Honeywell. Also touching on the tourism and hospitality, Lena Bruin County and Stephenson County Historical Society, a small business in downtown Freeport, the Boardroom, and a few other businesses, ABC Supply, and Lusher. What we're hearing commonly is that there are a limited pool of workers to choose from. Worker shortages isn't what it once was in COVID. The severity has decreased, but there still is a shortage of workers. Specifically, maintenance technicians are a difficult position to fill. We will go back to Highland and have a conversation. I know that they have coursework around maintenance technician. I think at one time they might have had a more explicit program. But enrollment numbers were not what they were to kind of support the program. So I think it might be revisiting that conversation. Again, lack of daycare contributes to missed work and difficult to recruit for some positions, sometimes lack of housing, even sometimes short-term rentals are what workers are looking for, or if they're seasonal workers. Companies that have fewer open positions, there were a few that talked about they really credit the work that they've been doing around a workplace culture and kind of incentivizing referral programs. People typically want to work with people they already know and trust. And if you can get a friend or someone that is interested in working at the same place you do, that seems to be working out very well for them. We have one manufacturer who's looking to make an investment in equipment. This would automate a portion of their kind of production line, something that is actually very strenuous to workers. They wouldn't be laying off any workers. They'd be looking to upskill those workers and to move them into different areas. So we're in conversations with the state if there are any incentive programs looking at the NME. Depending on the level of investment, there would be some tax credit benefits. We will be distributing a business climate survey this week that will be coming out of our office. The survey will capture kind of businesses' impression and overall local economic climate and how their business is doing here in Stephenson County. This survey will be open for about 30 days and we will have reporting following after we analyze results. We continue to work with 360 DMG, that is the business that has purchased the site at Mill Race. The owner's last visit to Stephenson County, we had coordinated a lot of meetings between county leadership, connected them with county engineers, as well as they met their neighbor Ingrown Farms. We hosted a meeting kind of between the two parties so they could meet each other and have a conversation about if Ingrown Farms has plans to do anything with the extra land they have around their plant currently. The local plant manager did not know that they had any future plans. Diving a little bit more into childcare, just kind of some facts, some data that was reported out from birth to 5. We have a little over 3,000 children in Stephenson County that are under the age of 5. And as of 2023, the total slots available were just over 600. So we can serve approximately 20% of that population. So when we talk about workforce shortages, childcare really kind of is a key for many families to re-enter the workforce. So I know Birth to 5 is looking at how do we bring more centers or even in-home daycares online. We kind of touched on that. We had a meeting with the Economic Development Focus Group this afternoon, and we touched upon that a little bit. We continue to work with the YCC and Open Bible on how they can grow, and if there were a way to recruit another kind of childcare franchise to Stephenson County to locate here. In terms of workforce, a couple of key dates coming up. October 17th is Manufacturing Day. Planning is already underway and communication out to manufacturers. Again, this is a great opportunity to get area high school students to tour plants, understand the career opportunities that are here, and they can then attend an expo out at Highland where we meet a lot of manufacturers throughout the county. And then November 6th, Highland and Freeport High School will host a coordinated job and career fair. Employers will have the opportunity to gain exposure to over 500 area high school students. It is primarily visited by Freeport High School, but there are other area high schools that do participate. This is the first time they've done a combined effort where they're thinking it's going to be a lot more efficient for the employers in the area. In terms of housing, we have some good news. We have a number of areas within Freeport and outside of Freeport that are in the enterprise zone. Many of those are residential in nature. There have been lots that have been on Shimer Drive, this is off Kiwanis, that have been for sale for the entirety of my residency here, so over 15 years. Those have just been purchased by an entity that plans to develop single-family homes. Also met with a developer who's looking to start small home infill development in some areas in some depressed neighborhoods within Freeport, which would be they're looking at where blighted housing has been torn down and going back and filling those lots. So they're working with the city. I think they can get those lots probably almost for free. If this continues to move in the right direction, I think this would be a great model to see how this could be replicated throughout Freeport and in other areas. We coordinated a meeting with Lena and Pearl City Village presidents with the county treasurer talking about the property tax sale process. Both village presidents were concerned about blighted housing in their communities, again, on a different scale than Freeport. But it was a really informative kind of discussion, and I think helped them understand how they can work in coordination with the county to just kind of get more communication earlier on in the process on properties that they're kind of watching out for. Let's see. And October 1st, the partnership will work in conjunction with Illinois Main Street. We're hosting a workshop here. It will be the majority of the day from 10 to 5, talking about the upstairs downtown workshop. And we're hosting it at the Exchange in downtown, but we're opening this up to all surrounding communities, really talking about how building owners and communities can look at upper floor renovation of their downtown buildings. We know many of them in Freeport and other surrounding communities. There probably were offices at one time or maybe apartments, but now they're in storage or they're vacant. What would it take to refurbish those and have them be housing units? We know that there's a lot of different type of housing needed that I think there's a population here that would be interested in upper floor residential apartments. In terms of the enterprise zone, we are hard at work working with a business in Lena. They're looking to expand and and bring a business near Rafters, we will be, which will necessitate an expansion of the enterprise zone to just kind of take in a couple more parcels that had not been part of the original zone to help facilitate that development. We look to be holding an enterprise zone board meeting before the end of this month. We have responded to 2 RFIs from Intersect Illinois, submitting both the former KST building 1555 Illinois Route 75 and Millrace Crossing. A lot of energy related RFIs are coming out. Again, a lot of companies are considering retrofitting existing buildings just because of the cost of construction, but some are also considering greenfield development as well. John and I are headed to Site Selectors Forum Thursday afternoon in Chicago to learn more about best practices from site selectors. A couple of developments in terms of small business. The partnership was awarded the Matthew Marvin Award from the Foundation for Northwest Illinois for entrepreneurship development work. And we were able to snag a $10,000 grant from the U.S. Bank Foundation. This will help go to fund our future base camp in the first quarter of next year. John and I are working diligently on a grant application for a site readiness program from the state of Illinois. What we're targeting for this is that the city is planning on putting a well out near Albertus Airport that would serve Albertus Airport. That water then would also be piped back to the city of Freeport as well and brought into their system along Lamb Road, tied into a pump station at Walnut and Lamb. So looking at this, doesn't get water all the way to Millrace Crossing, but it does get water a good portion of the way along Lamb Road. And that would open up that land for development potentially. So this grant proposal from the state would allow us to do some planning work in relationship to parcels along Lamb Road from approximately Walnut to Baileyville. So we hope to submit that beginning of October. There will be more to come, and I'm sure we'll have more communication with the landowners and as well as county officials. And last but not least, to tourism and events. Again, thank you to the county for the support in working with RACVB. The memorandum of understanding that we have with the Rockford CVB has come to fruition. This has opened up another revenue stream for the partnership's tourism efforts. And all said and done, I think we'll bring in around $56,000 in new revenue to the partnership related to tourism. So that's going to allow us to do some things that we haven't previously been able to do. Brewfest tickets are underway. That will be Saturday, September 28th. And then on October 11th, we have Wine and Witches, and VIP tickets are available. I'm going to take a breath, and I'm going to happily answer any questions you might have.
I understand you can say that grant approved, they have pump that into Freeport's water system, into the sewage side or into the fresh water side?
But water, it would be fresh water.
Really?
Yeah. So it's the idea, the well there at the airport would then also serve Albertus, which opens up potential then for Albertus as well. So more to come, but
yeah.
Does the airport not have a well now?
I think there's a small well out there, but no, nothing that really beyond, I think, just kind of domestic supply. It is somewhat limited, and that has been a limiting factor as well as kind of hangar space to development out there.
I have a question that doesn't even relate to anything at all.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Well, I hope I can answer the question that doesn't relate to anything.
Do you know, is the Taylor Park School building just going to become a total negative as far as the city's concerned? Or is that a building that could be developed?
It's a great question, Steve. I know that the school district retains ownership of that building.
Right.
I think the problem, and the same reason that they've closed it for children to attend there, is because it becomes an island unto itself when there is flooding. So unless you had a developer or someone who was going to raise basically the first floor of that building,
I was, you know,
I don't foresee that would really be reused. I think what the district's really using it now for is storage, unfortunately. But
I was just curious on that because I don't think in my tenure, even though it became an island, I don't think the building ever flooded.
yeah, I've heard different things. I've heard that there is a corner of the basement that would sometimes take on a little bit of water, but it would never enter around the first floor. It was never.
That was just a question I had once from.
Yeah, no, I have.
I used to hope so when I went there. I used to hope so when I went. Yeah. Important fifth grade. It's a long time.
Any other questions?
I comment real quick. We didn't have it on here, but we had our economic development subcommittee meeting today. And I just wanted to commend Andrea and her crew for coming up with a great baseline. We had a lot of measurables we're trying to look at over time with that effort that will flow back into here at some point. But they really did a nice job of putting together something that we can at least, okay, here's our starting point. And we can kind of move forward from there. So that was really cool. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it would be helpful at some point, we can give kind of an abbreviated presentation here or just supply you with the data. Just let us know.
Yeah, I think as we start moving forward, that would make sense. But
Okay.
to start with, I just wanted to make that known.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate
Chairman.
that.
Thank you. Moving on. Beth, zoning.
Good evening. $42,341 was deposited for the month of August. Total to date is $111,114.66. Several no permit letters were mailed out this past month. Half have been resolved, thankfully. We have been seeing an increase in floodplain violations. We need to improve our monitoring of these areas to ensure better oversight and safety. It's just hard. There's several areas that we kind of can't get to, and then when we get a call, we have to figure out how to get back there. A notice for an operable vehicle violation has been sent out. They did come in and they informed us that they will be working on moving the vehicles and installing a privacy fence. Tall weeds and grass violation has been sent out. We are waiting on that property owner to even sign for the letter. I've been in touch with the Maury's, the owners of Maury's Auto Parts. They have finally received all permitting paperwork from the state, the IDNR, the Office of Water Resources, and the Army Corps of Engineers since their fire that they had over a year ago now, I believe it's been. So they just need to fill out our countywide applications for everything to make sure we have all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted, because the state will look at our paperwork. Nicole and I attended the grand opening for the ABC Supply at their new location on Baileyville Road. They've really made that place into a great facility.
Very classic.
Yes. We've completed another process on another solar site located on East McConnell Road. Reviewing all the materials for the building permit application usually takes about 3 to 5 days. Additionally, 3 other solar sites have inquired about the requirements for obtaining a building permit. I anticipate that these permits should be issued by the end of 2024, if not early 2025. And I did hand out, it's not on the agenda, I'm just going to discuss it quickly, a zoning code update through Hinshaw and Culbertson. These gentlemen, which is Eric Borneman and David Vogt. Eric Borneman was, I believe, on the city council at one point in time. I think he was, correct me if I'm wrong, was he a state's attorney, assistant state's attorney? Okay, David Vogt. Okay, and then David Vogt was the zoning department's assistant state's attorney. So both of these gentlemen, if approved by the board, would be working on reviewing the code. I was going to come in as a supplement on this, but since the zoning department does have their trust fund, we have that in our trust fund there that we would be able to pay for this. It's not to exceed $20,000. We have some antiquated codes. I mean, there's some words like haberdashery and sanitarium, just reading through it, it's very dated. So they're going to review the code, see what we need to address in it, and then go from there, but not up to over $20,000. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. This will be presented next Thursday at the board. What's that? Oh, can I have a consensus, please? What do you think?
This came in after the agendas were posted in the time frame. So we talked about it. I said, we'll talk about it tonight. If the committee is fine with it, we can send it straight to the board.
And that's gonna look at everything in our code book.
No, just the zoning code, just chapter 400. Yes. The other departments have to pay for their own. They don't have that much
I
money.
mean, those words that you just used are in many areas of the code book.
Yes, they are.
Okay, any questions? All right. I did not attend Soil and Water District meeting this past month. Conflicted with another meeting I had, so I don't have anything to report there. Recreation and trails,
We meet Thursday,
there's
this coming Thursday. We did not meet in July or August because of vacations. Not mine. There.
Black Hawk Hills Regional Council. I have not heard anything from them. When it comes to the chairman's report, I don't know, do you want to talk about the chairman's report this round?
I have nothing to share.
We had I will share from the committee chair. We did have a press conference last week, Wednesday. Gotta make sure, yes, last week, Wednesday, with with our U.S. Congressman, with Eric Sorensen out in German Valley because of the process. We will be changing some things here, but he has brought forth another 5 million from the Corps of Engineers. It's passed the House, needs to go to the Senate, but should pass there as well. So this now will become a 3-year project that's pretty much totally paid for through other areas of funding, including the 500,000 that we were. The project was supposed to have started in August. We're waiting to see the track will get to the facility to put in the polisher, but everything else is moving forward as it should. And so that was a great find along the way. So the comment was made that Stephenson County's start got the ball rolling. So I'm glad to have that. Report from the strategic planning transportation focus group. That's why he's here.
That's why I'm here. I didn't know if there'd be a room at the table, so.
Well done.
Yeah. Yeah, the subcommittee met on the 13th of the past month. We had 2 main goals to view the equipment maintenance as part of the strategic plan, just to get a good feel for what that was like. Engineer Rasmussen said, yeah, he keeps pretty good tab on things, and it's not cheap to maintain that, but as folks who watch the highway department meetings go, we know he's got a good eye on things. So he said it's well underway. It's always well budgeted for. Not worried about that. The big thing we were meeting for, though, is to get a report from Prince City Area Transit. And we had 3 representatives come and just kind of lay out what their business was, what their hopes were, what their difficulties were, and how we, the county, could help and what we should be aware of. A number of things came to light. One of the biggest issues they're having is maintenance of their vehicles. They say they usually have 2 to 3 of their vehicles out at any given point for maintenance. And that's partly because they're all outdated vehicles that by the standards that the state funding and everything says they should be updated to. They should have been replaced by now, but because of the pandemic and everything else, they have not been able to find suitable replacements. Because it's state funded and whatnot, the IDOT bids are pretty much the only option they have that's financially viable, and that has had a backlog of years. There again, I know the highway department has bought a new vehicle and waited 2 years or more for it to arrive. And so, Princeton City is in much the same boat. And so that's where a lot of their outside attention and resources are going. It's just keeping these vehicles afloat long past when they should have been. We did address, we did ask about a 30-minute wait time as pretty standard. And while that's not what a lot of us who would want, they said that's pretty standard for a rural area when there's no route. They said that's pretty standard across the board. And looking at some other counties that have similar sized transport systems, it's not nice to hear, but 30 minutes is about the standard window. And we're looking at different ways we could address that. And again, one of them would be a regular route, which they are interested in and did a study for back in 2014. But there again, the resources, vehicles, the drivers, it just wasn't there to get going. But they would be interested in revisiting that should there be encouragement and guidance from the county, among other sources. One interesting note on maintenance, the city of Freeport does handle all their oil changes. So even small little benefits like that, they say have been a game changer. That little maintenance really helps them compensate elsewhere. I asked at the end of the meeting what their hopes and dreams were, what we could do for them. And they said 3 things. They need a place to park their vehicles. They don't, especially in winter months, they don't have reliable parking facilities that they can control. It's kind of goodwill. Sometimes we can get them here, sometimes we can get them there. But having a regular controlled place where they can park their vehicles would be a big benefit. And again, hopefully that's eventually an increasing fleet of vehicles. They would like some ability to have a dedicated maintenance person or a dedicated maintenance plan of some sort, because again, even if we can't get new vehicles, having reliable maintenance rather than relying on the openings and local vendors, that would save them time, resources, and just the headache of it. And then the big thing is that their funding only matches about 80%. They have to come up with the match of about 20% of their cost. And they do that through the fare tickets and everything else, but they also ask for donations by some of the facilities that use their services regularly, and that's not stable. So any way we could help with that, or again, guide their progress with that, they would be all leaders. It sounds like they've really bent over backwards to keep this operation going, especially over the pandemic. Was very impressed with what we saw, but I do think it's time where if the county can and is interested in, they could definitely use our support, because they do want to be a fully county running service. They started in Freeport, so that's where they're centered. But they would like to service the whole county, like a lot of other counties nearby do. They've got relationships with some of the other counties, Joe Davis and Carroll, and they're trying to mimic some of their systems, but different populations, different needs, different resources. It's all difficult to put together. And we set our next meeting for September the 24th so that we could go over what we're talking about right now. Any questions?
I have 2.
Yeah.
What is the size of the fleet?
Oh, I believe they said they have about a dozen buses. There again, depends on how many are operational at the time, but I believe
Most of the time, their vehicles are parking lot by 219.
Well, I was gonna
yeah.
ask. Now, is that the parking lot? When you said parking, is that for their vans or for their drivers' vehicles, or where were you?
So that's for Princeton City vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah, and there again, if we could find a willing maintenance area that also had a shed for 12 vehicles,
Gotcha.
yeah, that would be a bonus. But
The other question is, 20% is unfunded. What's the total dollars?
Uh, Wrote that down. I know I scribbled it in a corner somewhere. Um,
It's an opportunity for, can open up Taylor Park School.
That's,
I want to say it was in about the $20,000 to $30,000 range, but so I scribbled it down somewhere, but it's missing. Oh, what's right over there?
fine, thanks, yeah.
Have you had any conversations with the same group, the group that's doing it in Galena?
So they have been talking with them about,
Because they have, I've been in several meetings with Galena and Carol with their, seems like they don't run the same kind of vehicles, obviously. But, and again, I know what you're saying when you say different type of clientele, but I know that they have a pretty timely schedule that they run in Galena.
and I do know, because I asked specifically about how they interact with other counties. And they said over the past 6 months or so, they've really started to try to get together, and they're working on a collaborative group across county groups where they can share ideas and styles. I know the Galena-based system is very robust by comparison, and I think that's where we would like to shoot. I think the trick is figuring out what the Stephenson County version of that is.
Anything else? Well, thank you for sharing that info.
Yeah, just as a heads up, we are looking at, we're trying to set up a similar meeting with representatives from Highland and the Health Department, because those would also be vested interest in a wider serving transport system.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Do they break down their riders, the use, why their riders are using, is it for like the percentage going to medical appointments, going to school, going to work? Do they have any idea of that data?
I know they do. I'm trying to see if
Okay,
I have those.
all right.
numbers. Because we did talk about potentially reaching out to different factories in the area.
Right.
And then schools
Yeah.
to see if they would also be willing to take in some kind of sponsorship or.
Logo on the bus.
I know they did break it down, and they said they've run a few studies over the
They
years,
have.
but I don't think we have.
And I'll mention something to, I don't know if you know Todd Baumgartner, I'm wearing automotive out on 20.
yeah. Vaguely.
But I know he's got some extra space out there. I don't think he'd have enough for a dozen buses. But he might be open to something along those lines.
Yeah, they'd definitely be willing to look into any opportunity.
Yeah, I'll mention something to him too.
Yeah, appreciate
He'd be
that.
open to discussing it. He's got a crew out there and he likes to keep them busy, you know that.
Okay. We'll move on to new business, approval of a map amendment for the lead auto and tire.
Yes, Larry Tool has currently had his business for, I'd say, 15 plus years, I think it's been. He is zoned properly for what it currently is. He has been doing a towing business for a couple of years now. It came to our attention that he was not zoned properly. So it's more or less making existing business legal. We've done this before, and he would also request a variance to allow for 40 vehicles instead of our 30 vehicles. Currently, he has approximately, I think he said 20 vehicles out there right now that are involved in a lawsuit. So he can't remove those vehicles until they're gone, so that hinders him having extra vehicles out there.
So we need to approve an amendment change or a map change from B1, M1,
B2 to M2, M1.
by manufacturer.
That's where the towing code is, and it also covers his automotive repair business and the U-Haul business he has. Just towing was not in the B2 zoning district.
This situation came to light because of, assuming somebody was complaining.
The gentleman out on Highway 20 that we approved for his towing company turned him in. We get that quite a bit.
So it wasn't adjacent. property.
No, not at all.
And did we change that zoning out there for checker flag to allow all 40 cars or more?
No, his is 30. And
I just,
yes, and we do checkups on it, and most of the time it's 35, 25, 30. This is his, and he has proof. He is installing his fence on the east side of the property, hopefully soon. It's not going to be pretty, I've been told. It's going to be, metal panels he's gotten from Maury's, but when that was added to the code at the county board meeting, it wasn't specified as to what type of fence. So, yes. Yeah.
and this, now, do we have a specific,
We do not. We just have I can't remember what it is, 7 or 8 foot solid fence. Personally, I don't want a fence because then you can't see what's there. Then Nicole and I have to take time out of our day and physically go there, get out, walk around, check all the cars. And it's actually a pain. From the road, we can kind of see everything and say there's, but.
decide whether we needed to be changing our code to that?
That's one that I'm going to have if the other gets approved,
Okay,
which we're looking at.
but then that changes all of this.
What going forward, whoever has their special use or zone currently or their business is what it is. They're grandfathered to the old code.
Right.
So, yeah. And I don't know if you've driven past here. It is a lot neater than the one out on 20. His are way far back, most of them. The cars that you see up front are for his automotive business. The cars towards the back, way in the back, are for his towing business. And he has some demo cars of his own and some vehicles of his own, but he lines his up neatly and keeps his property pretty well kept up.
That's only a 6-acre property.
Yes.
So I guess we have to decide whether we want to
I would move to approve.
second.
Second.
Any other thoughts? Hearing none, all those in favor of the zoning map change signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries. Special use for a second dwelling.
Yes. It's Tony and Sherry Albert. They have a special use currently because he runs a business out of the big pole shed. He had a sports,
Frustrating.
type of business in there. And now he has their, they do excavating and septic work and things like that and trucking. And their son and daughter-in-law would like to put one end of the building as a dwelling for them. There is currently septic, and we did check with the environmental health department, had them check with the environmental health department, and it is feasible for the amount of living space that they would be needing. They
So
would,
they're basically gonna do a barn dominium.
the whole building wouldn't be, it would just be one end of it. Minimum 750 square feet is what they need, so it'll probably be about 1,200.
And they're gonna add on.
They haven't discussed anything on adding on at the moment, but they do have room to add. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the special use permit for Albert, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of code amendment to amendment chapter 400 that we already talked about. That's what you're doing.
This is a temporary use permit or temporary uses. We do have it just stated in our code that you would need a permit for a temporary use. That's like craft fair, something larger than a farmer's market type thing. A circus, Christmas tree sales, are permitted. But this came to fruition because the gentleman bought the River Road, trailer park. Mr. Chapman is now having a fall festival and he's gearing it towards as a campground. Events like this aren't allowed in the ag district. It's only for ag purposes. This parcel now is zoned A1 with a special use to allow for a single family dwelling, for the campground. Technically, they're not a campground yet because they do not have the state permitting through IDPH. So they will have to comply with what we have in our code for the temporary uses. Once they have their permitting, a temporary use permit will not be needed.
But they would be applying for an amusement activity?
Yes,
For how long?
it would be just one evening. I believe it's October 26th. They've got it on their website. And like I told them, we're not singling you out. There's someone that's doing a craft show sometime this fall out of a barn that's not used as an event venue. They'll have to have a temporary use permit here as well. Terry used to make them get a temporary use permit just through the office, but this now covers us. It'll be in our code.
So this is basically just making it so that we already have it in our code. They come in, write the check for the permit and they're ready to go.
There has to be, in our permit, there's requirements for hand washing stations, if they're going to have anything like that. If they have food, if they're serving food, then they have to go through the health department.
Question. We probably ought to have a motion in a second and then we can.
I will move to approve this as presented.
Now,
I just want to know why I can't use my mobile home as real estate.
Because it's a mobile. It's not a real estate.
If I could-
And it's only temporary. We permit the ones like when PGI came in for the pipeline, all of those office buildings that they transport in and out, they have to have it permit as well, temporary permit.
But that would be considered a mobile home.
Those aren't mobile homes, those are more office
Office.
structures, yeah. They don't have a kitchen in them.
I guess that's what I'm thinking of when I think mobile home for real estate office. It'd be an office type. Wouldn't be like I'm bringing my motor home that I go camping.
Right,
So that would be okay under this.
correct, yes.
Gotcha. That answers my questions. Thank you.
anything else? All right, all those in favor of the amendment to chapter 400, temporary uses, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, on to whole business review of those budgets. We have those in front of us for voting.
Right, everything should have gone down, which would be, I believe, is the mileage. We haven't been using as much this year. It doesn't seem like we've ever gotten up to that amount. And the small increase due to inflation for our facilities maintenance is what I would call it instead of rent out at the highway department building. And the other two are just COLAs for our salaries.
Second to look at those if there's any questions.
I make a motion to approve the zoning budget as presented.
Is there a second? I have a motion in a second. Any other discussion, question? Wayland, you have trouble?
Well, no, I'm just looking at the overall number. That's a pretty hefty uptick. We've already approved additional salary requirement, which I think that's the main gist is coming from the assistant director shop. On that,
No, she was 41,184 this year, and she's 43,251. It's only up,
A little over 5,000.
yeah, 5,187.
and this is something, maybe I should be looking at the.
That's not the budget we're looking at.
That's the rec and conservation one.
Next page.
Because I'm looking at the one that's online. Yeah, that must not be up to date, because I'm looking on here, and it only shows 22,671 on the 914 zoning budget.
Are you on Teams?
Yeah,
Isn't the year to date when it's posted?
2023 budget, it says 22,671.
Well, let's go to the 2024 budget.
Well, the 2024 budget is showing 41,184. I just like making sure this is up to date too, when it comes to finance.
Right, she went from 36 to, because she started, when was that?
Yeah, well, let me back up. I'm just, on here, it looks like a very small increase from 116 to 120, 118, 101.
Right.
123, 28.
Yep.
288, right?
Yep.
So very easy, but this must not be up to date. Either that or I got the wrong spreadsheet somehow.
Are you looking at 24 as of 6/24/2024?
2024 is showing 41,184.
Right.
Oh, you know what? This isn't up to 2025, so maybe I got the wrong spreadsheet. Yeah. Go back.
This is, okay.
That's what's messing me up, Steve. Right off Adrian's feed here. Yeah, I don't think that's it, because that's showing 2024 budget worksheet, not 2025. So I'm in the wrong place. There you go, 2025 budget. Okay, so this is the one everybody's working on. All right, that looks good. We're good.
Okay,
Thank you.
good thoughts. Sir.
Appreciate the patience. Trying to get it right.
All right, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions? We just approve these to move on to the county board, so that's the motion we will make.
To go to finance.
To go to finance. We have a motion, is there a second?
I believe that's.
Already got the motion in.
Okay, all those in favor of the zoning budget being forwarded on to finance, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries on to recreation and conservation.
Okay, we did decrease the,
Electric a little bit.
yes, due to the past use. Also, we are deactivating a line for the Peck Prairie Path. We haven't, I think our contribution for that is complete. I spoke with Adrian and Georgia about that. And Mr. Rummer suggested we add a new line, and wanted it for tree removal. I spoke with Adrian and Georgia and doing a miscellaneous expense line We're only going to 1,000. Mr. Wimmer suggested 7,500. I think right now the 1,000 will just be a good cushion.
You mean 750, not 7,500, but
No, he wanted 7,500. Yeah,
Well, if you had to pay somebody to remove one tree, that takes care of it.
right, right.
I think that's a little low, but. Thoughts on that?
What is the electric for? What do you see these places, just lighting?
Good lighting at the landings. Pardon?
So I think that's what the,
Yeah.
not mistaken.
That's everything that we had this month of the $54 of lighting at the landing.
There is typically, like this year, I think we're gonna have about 4,500 to 6,000 left over that we haven't used in the budget. If he wouldn't have had a couple trees removed, there would have been an extra, I believe, 7,000. I think there's easier, better, tree service out there that are lower priced. It's a couple of them were emergency ones, so he had to get who he could get. But I think this budget's pretty steady the way it is.
I guess if our department heads are happy. Open to send on to finance.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That on? We did the economic development one already, right? Didn't we work on that last one?
No, I did not bring any copies of it, but we did discuss it last month.
We have that somewhere? They're gonna be on.
I do not have that.
Yeah, that was, that would be one I can put together.
Do that. Any public comment? I have one question. I'm gonna ask Andrea, I'm gonna go back to your presentation. What is maintenance tech? You're talking about a class at Highland, but what is a maintenance tech?
What a lot of them are referred to, any building maintenance could be that in terms of looking at HVAC, looking at those types of things. A lot of manufacturing, they're looking for maintenance techs that would have some knowledge of automated manufacturing systems.
Okay.
Yes,
Can I answer that for him?
Yeah.
yeah, you probably would have a much better.
It used to be like when I went through the Highland program, I went for electronics technology. You could go to like down the electrical path and mechanical path. In a situation like that, you really need both. And so you need the program design not only to understand how to program a PLC or to troubleshoot it mainly when you're in maintenance, but how mechanical apparatus works on a piece of machinery. You know, how do loads transfer? How do, all type, how does hydraulics work? How do pneumatics work? How do you troubleshoot these kinds of things? So it's a lot more involved. I remember when I got out of Bry, I was looking at going to work for a company called Seba Corning Diagnostics. And a lot of their stuff was medical-based equipment that was pneumatic-based. And I was like looking at this stuff going, it was like a whole new field. I had no idea, how air, it was somewhat similar in some ways from a logic standpoint, but it operated totally different. I'm like, no, thanks. But it's just, because in farming, you get into just about
Well, I
everything.
just go back to my time at Freeport High School where I was teaching an applied technology program, and we did. I had a hydraulics trainer, I had a pneumatics trainer, I had a robotics trainer, I had electronics.
And that's it.
I don't know how many students come back and it's like, damn, frick, I wish I'd have paid attention in your class.
Yeah.
But, we taught that to freshmen who could care less about life.
Right.
But, it was a great program that had a lot of that in it along the way. Talk about levers and pulleys and gears, but you still use them.
Yeah, I think it's coming back to that. It's gotten, it's getting more specialized, you know, it's coming around because they need people that have all those skills, not just one or the other.
Anything else for the cause this evening? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.